Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a look at something a little bit different. It's not a tire review. We are driving our Cross RC NT4. As I talked about in kind of my intro video for this weekend, we've had a massive amount of rain. I'm holding off until tomorrow to start doing tire testing. And so I figured, why not look at the Cross this morning, or this afternoon actually. Not so much do a review, as we're just going to drive it, talk about it a little bit, and this might end up being kind of a review. There we go. If you notice a reduction in video quality, I just had to kind of change the settings on my camera from 8K to Ultra HD, because with 8K it wouldn't let me zoom any further out than it was. And there's our first rollout. Wouldn't let me zoom out any further than it was, so I'm guessing that's just how it is. Just filming on my phone. It just recently did a software update. I have a Galaxy S20 something. It's not one of the newest ones, but it's not that old. But just did a software update, and I'm not liking this new version of Android. Man, we're getting stuck on a rock here. Hang on just a second. Okay. So, if you didn't watch the previous video, we have had a massive amount of rain over the last week. Actually 5 days. I mean, so business week. And the lake is very high right now. And the last bit of rain we had was earlier this morning, so the ground is also very wet. Which means I'm walking on, it's kind of basically clay. We're going to roll out again. This thing, I'll get to that in a minute. So I don't know how this weekend is going to go. We'll see. We're going to try to get some tire reviewing in, but I want to make sure that the tires are getting kind of a fair chance compared to other tires that have run in the past, although I really compare a tire against itself more than I compare it against others. But I need some consistency on the obstacles so that I know how to score a tire. But we're not doing tire testing right now. We're looking at the Cross RC NT4. Now, what we were just trying to do is run it on my side hill obstacle. And the NT4, not a good side hilling rig. I need to get set up and stable here and find a place where I can kind of just drive it around. Hang on just a second. Okay. I'm trying to get set up somewhere where I have somewhere to stand, where I'm not going to be just standing in pure mud, and where I can kind of drive the vehicle around. Now, the level of the lake, if you can see here, that's not normally underwater. This rock here is normally about probably a solid 30 to 50 feet from the edge of the water. So we are very high right now. They do have the dam open. I'm hoping that it stays open overnight and that it drains some of the water level, because it's actually higher than I thought it was. And it's not the end of the world. It's only taking away, technically, 1.5 obstacles. But the ground being wet is going to be different. So we're going to hold off till tomorrow. Hopefully things will change. I mean, they're not going to change that much. The ground's going to be wet probably for a week. So it is what it is. But until we get back on the rocks, let's look at the NT4. The NT4 is I would say, Cross RC's budget, ready to run rock crawler. I think it does come in a kit now. When I bought this, it was simply only in RTR mode, and they have the NT4, which is this one, which is basically a Unimog style. And they have another one that is the same chassis that I can't remember what they call the rig, but it's kind of a cab over design. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to mimic. But now they also have one in kit form. But the NT4 is actually a pretty cool platform. We have a 12.3 wheelbase crawler on portal axles, and we have a 2-speed transmission and an unlockable front differential. So rather than giving us dig, they give us a 2-speed and an unlockable front. I really wish it came with dig rather than the unlockable front. I don't find too much use in the unlockable diffs. And my NT4 is largely stock. I haven't done a whole lot to it. I don't plan on doing a whole lot to it. This is going to stay more of a trail truck for me than it is a rock crawler. The stuff that I'm doing today is going to be probably the most extreme crawling that it ever sees. And we're not doing any extreme stuff, but I bought this to go on trail hikes with the kids, have something to play with while we do that, and something just to kind of drive around when I go camping when I'm not doing rock crawling. And well, quite honestly, I liked the look of it. I thought it was cool and wanted to test it out. So as far as what I've done to it, I immediately changed the wheels and tires. I just didn't really like the tires that came with it. They're not very good. They remind me of the Boom Racing Hustler, and both the way they look and the way they perform, although, surprise, surprise, they actually perform better than the Hustlers. But the tires that come on it aren't that great. And the wheels that come on it, they're plastic beadlocks. They're fine. I don't hate plastic wheels, especially for a trail truck. But they just did not fit the body. They just didn't fit the Unimog body. And so on here, I have not the best set of tires that I could have put on it, but I have a very fitting set of tires. These are the 2.2 Traxxas Canyon RTs that came on the Traxxas 6x6. So it's a 2.2 wheel that measures about 4.75 high on the tire. And it comes in their S1 compound, and it is a decent tire. It's an okay crawling tire. I've got a review of these coming up. But more importantly than its crawling capabilities, the wheel, the tire, this fit the vehicle perfectly. And so they found their way onto it. Can we come up this? Other things I've done, I did, of course, change the electronics. Although currently, I am still running the factory Dumbo radio. I haven't switched that over to the DX5 yet, because I need to order a. Let's refocus. I need to order a SR515 receiver. So that I can run it on my DX5 that runs the whole fleet. My DX5 Pro. I don't think we're going to make it up there. Electronics wise, I wanted to keep the lights, and for the time being I wanted to keep the shift servos, and I didn't find information from Cross that was reliable on those, but I'm assuming the shift servos are 6 volt, and I'm assuming the light is a 6 volt lighting system. And so because of that, for steering I have gone with a Endura. Now I can't remember. I think it's at least 25 kg. I don't think it's 35. It's probably 25. But it's an Endura blue case steering servo. I will put a link to it in the description below. But it runs either 25 or 35 kV on 6 volts. And because I didn't want to run anything at 7.4 yet, that was a good choice for me. So having a 6 volt steering servo that still has a little bit of torque to it, I figured that would be good. Also be good good servo to look at and kind of maybe do a review of. And so far I'm pretty happy with it. For power, we are running a Charisma Arc 2 ESC and a Holmes Trailmaster Sport 35 turn 540 can. Man, we just can't get that line. One of the problems right now is with the ground being muddy, it's very slick down there, and the rear tires don't have the grip. Now we're getting in loose stuff. Well, that might help if we get some of those rocks out of the way. Those big plastic fenders getting hung up. Again, I don't think you should kid yourself and think that the NT4 is a real rock crawler. It is definitely more of a trail rig in my opinion. And so far, performance-wise, it's showing it. Let's see if the Canyon RTs can clear out a little and get us up this incline. It's a pretty steep one. We are on sandstone out here, of course, as you know, but we are wet, we are slippery, and our tires are loaded up. And tires are probably going to be loaded up all weekend, so we're going to see some interesting behavior out here. But the Canyon RT is able to do that. The NT4 able to go up there. One negative thing I will say about the NT4 out of the box is it comes with very nice shocks. They're very nice aluminum shocks. I haven't had them leak yet, but they are oversprung, and the ride height does sit very high, and I have not done anything to address that yet. And quite honestly, I don't know if I'm going to, because although it is not conducive for good rock crawling performance, it looks good, which to me, with a trail rig, looks are definitely a big part of it. But also, it's kind of performing more realistically, which again is kind of what's fun about a trail rig, is, you know, more of scale driving than just pure performance rock crawling. So at first I had planned on either putting different springs on them, seeing if I could get some more droop out of them, either relocating them or maybe putting some internal springs in. I don't really want to drive through water. I forgot these are glued wheels, not on beadlocks, so those foams are wet now. And I can't dry them. What was I saying? Oh, so the ride height and everything, I kind of had planned on fixing it at first, but I don't know that I'm going to, because I kind of like the way it drives with that high ride height. I also had thought I would put maybe some drabs on it, or even some desert lizards, but I think I'm going to keep it as is. But the suspension is kind of a hindrance. The NT4 really doesn't side hill well at all. There's a lot of things it could do a lot better if it had just a lower center of gravity, and different shocks would help with that. It does have a somewhat high center of gravity. I have relocated the battery to the slider. By stock, in stock form, the battery tray goes down the center, kind of like a TRX4 does out of the box. I'll show you how it would go when we go back up and look under the hood. But I have, that's stuck. But I have relocated that batteries for a little bit better weight distribution, and I've actually got a video on that. It's a very simple and free and quick modification that anybody can do for no cost, and I will link that video in the description. Durability wise, for me, the NT4 has been fine. I haven't broken any components on it. It seems well built. You know, we don't have your kind of overbuilt Traxxas durability here, but it is definitely not what I would call a flimsy rig. And I've had it for about 6 months. This is probably the 5th or 6th battery pack that I've put through it. So, you know, durability, to be fair, I haven't, tested it just a whole lot. But, usually you can kind of tell when a rig seems fragile and you're kind of afraid to do anything with it. And really, the fear I have more than anything with this is I don't like rolling it because I don't really want to mess up the body on it. I like the way the body looks quite a bit, and I just don't want to mar it up too bad. But I need to get over that because shelf queens are not something that I'm typically gonna have, and at some point everything's gonna get rolled and scratched, and it's just the way it is. You can buy an optional bed for this that's a lot more realistic bed. So the bed that comes on it, you know, is just plastic. It has some detail to it, but it's shallow. It's kind of just your typical, you know, truck bed that you get with a Lexan body. They have one that is, I think, aluminum. That's a much more realistic bed, and it also it makes your battery, if you use the factory battery tray, it makes your battery accessible without having to take the body off, which would be kind of nice if you're going to leave the battery in the factory position. And that bed also comes with like a cloth cover. It looks really, really cool, and I have had my finger on the order button several times, but I just haven't done it because even though I'm not using this rig as a performance rock crawler, I don't think I want to make it any more top heavy than it already is. I don't think that is a performance sacrifice in the name of vanity that I'm willing to make on this rig, at least at this time. If I crack the bed on this or something, maybe my mind will change. But right now, we've got enough struggles with the center of gravity and the suspension that I've left alone, and I don't want to make it worse. And I'm not sure if you were able to notice it in that rollover, but I have added brass to all four corners. Cross RC doesn't sell a lot of upgrades for this, but they do have brass available. I have added that, and it helped quite a bit, but still, it's a top heavy truck. It's oversprung, and quite honestly, the more I drive it, the more I think I'm probably going to do something about the springing on it, because it is just oversprung. I believe we're looking at around $400 RTR for this. I guess I'll say that was before all the crazy. I'm not going to get off there. Portals or no portals. You can't get traction if the tires don't have anything to touch. That was before all the crazy trade war stuff, so I'm not, or tariff war stuff. So I'm not entirely certain what the NT4 costs right now, but it is usually about $400, which I feel like is a fair price. You know, that's kind of your conventional price for an Element trail truck other than the SE, or, you know, an Axial other than the base camp, or, you know, we're sitting right there between the cost of the big manufacturers, entry-level stuff. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a line here. Part of this is tire, part of this is going to be the capability of the cross. We've got that big bumper on front that just runs into everything. But I don't think, between being mud packed and just not being a fantastic crawling tire, I don't think the Canyon RTs are going to pull us up here, which this obstacle is one of our normal obstacles that we do when we do tire testing. I'm filming it from a different angle. But our Element Enduro can take this easily with most tires. And we roll off again. But the Cross is definitely struggling with it. The Canyon RTs are definitely struggling with it. I'm sinking into the ground as I stand here. Right now, I believe we're dealing with tire more than we are truck. We just got no traction, which this isn't necessarily fair to the RT because, I mean, we are loaded up and the mud that's out here, it's like clay. And so it doesn't clear out on its own until it dries and you do a lot of driving. So I may have to figure out how to bank some content this weekend without doing a bunch of tire reviews. I think I've got enough already to get me through June. So I don't know what we're going to do. We just may end up being, just some driving videos, and hell, I might record a couple fishing videos or something while I'm out here. Come on. This is not a normal line that we do. But again, I'm not really running this through our normal course necessarily. I'm just out here driving it because this is just about the Cross RC. But again, let's go back to the cost. So about $400. I think it's a little more. I think it's like $430 or something like that. So you're above your entry-level price on things like your Base Camp and your TRX4 Sport and your Enduro SE, and we're more on our, Enduro Trail Truck, our Vanquish, not the VS410, TX4 when it's on sale, a SCX 10.3. We're more along the line of the cost of that, somewhere between the entry-level costs and the cost of their quote higher-end rigs. Man, no grip. This is not the truck. This is definitely the tire. Canyon RTs don't do anything when they're loaded up with mud. I'll tell you that much. Somebody driving through the campground. Oop. There's another tip. I might go look through my box of tires that I brought for review and see what I've got that has, if I brought anything that's more of a mud terrain type tire, and throw those on and see. We're having some pretty serious limitations here. Some of it is the rig, some of it is the tire, I think. So one of the downsides, even though we are sitting on portals and we have quite a bit of ground clearance, this thing has find some stable ground here. This thing has this enormous front bumper on it, which looks really, really good. But between the front bumper and the big plastic fenders, and these fenders are like, I don't know what kind of plastic to call them. They're like a nylon, they're not Lexan. They're made out of the same material that the bumper is. Let's just say that. But that bumper sits kind of low and it sits kind of far. I mean, this has decent approach and departure angles, but with that front bumper on there, we hit a lot of stuff. And it kind of takes away from some of the capabilities and advantages of having portals by sticking that giant front bumper on there. But again, it's a trail truck. It's supposed to look good. and it looks like a Unimog. So we don't complain about things like that, because we know that we're making these sacrifices for a reason. Now, could we pull that front bumper off and put a comp style bumper on? Yeah. Could we pull these big fenders and this somewhat heavy? I mean, the Lexan on this body, especially the cab up top, is pretty thick, somewhat heavy body, and put a lightweight, you know, J Concepts body on here and just use the NT4 chassis? Yeah. Could we put some different springs and different shocks on here and have a rig that's not oversprung and lower the center of gravity even more? Yeah, we could. But we're not doing that, because we're not building this into a super capable rock crawler. It's a trail truck that does some crawling. Except, maybe we get ourselves an NT4 kit and we see how capable this platform can be. There's an idea. That Endura servo seems to have plenty of power for you know what I'm needing it to do, even on 6 volts, but it is pretty slow. I'm not somebody who needs a super fast servo on everything, but I wouldn't mind this being a tiny bit faster. The struggle right here, again, this is one of our normal obstacles, kind of. This is more of an obstacle transition than an actual obstacle, but it is something that some tires kind of struggle with. The Canyon RTs are struggling very much. Again, I think this is mostly due to the fact that they're very loaded up with what is essentially silly putty. We had it there, but then we got high-centered or something and had to back out of it. There we go. Now we're caught on the fender and the front bumper because I don't have the tires are just not. I have no. There we go. No control over the direction in which I'm driving. So most of this so far now, we're starting to kind of just drive our normal course. Although some of the angles on these obstacles might be a little bit different than what you're used to if you're a returning viewer. Because right now I'm having to position the camera to sit somewhere where I can also stand and not either be just sinking down into the mud or standing precariously on a loose rock and slipping off, because I didn't really think before I came down here. And I've got a decent pair of shoes on. I've got some hiking trail shoes on, but I'd really like to have my boots on, my hiking boots, that have a little bit better grip in mud, and they also have, they're a high ankle, and they really help me not roll my ankle if I slip. So just trying to be a little cautious here. I don't think there's a chance that we're going to get this. That driver or that passenger side front tire is barely touching the ground, because although we have another downside to the NT4 with the Unimog body is those giant fenders make it to where this is not a great self-riding rig. But anyway, the even though we got ground clearance with the portals and we have 90mm shocks, we don't have an extreme amount of suspension travel. And we are grossly oversprung. I think I'm going to try to spring these a little bit better. But mostly right now, again, we got no grip in those Canyon RTs. I'm not going to make that. And again, this video is not a review of the Canyon RT. I know I'm talking about them a lot, I actually think that they're a good tire. I like the Canyon RT pretty well as far as an RTR tire goes. Not quite as good as a cut Canyon Trail, but they're pretty good. But with this mud and clay in them, they're not doing a lot of grip. But we're not reviewing them. One is because this is not the vehicle that would review them, and two, I don't know if I'm going to review any tires this weekend because I don't know if I can. It's really not going to be fair to the tire, even if I'm not comparing them against other tires. It's not going to be a good test of the actual abilities of a tire to have to perform this course completely loaded up with silly putty. We'll see how things are tomorrow, and maybe by Saturday I can get a couple in. I think probably what I'll do is tomorrow morning I'll make some more videos, maybe another one of the NT4, maybe one of tire rack, just driving. Although I think I left his default daily drivers at home, his Duratrax Fossils. Yeah, knew that was going to happen. I think we left his Duratrax Fossils at home, so we'll have to see out of the tires I brought what he's going to run around on without doing a tire review. So, what can we do to make the NT4 better than it is right now? We could definitely do a lot with the suspension. The suspension is going to be the main performance hang-up of an NT4. The factory electronics are typical factory RTR electronics. The electronics I have in here are not high-end electronics, but they're definitely an improvement over the factory. The Charisma R2 ESC is actually a really good ESC. I like it as well as a Hobbywing 1080. It's not quite as tunable, but then most of the settings on the 1080 you don't really mess with anyway. But the R2 is a very good brushed ESC. You know, the Trailmaster Sport motors, it's a 3-slot motor, has decent drag brake. They're they're under $20, so, you know, it's a brushed motor, it's a sealed can brush motor. It's a inexpensive sealed can brush motor, so it's not like a, you know, big torque monster or anything like that, but for under $20, it's a good motor, and it's got a lot more torque and a lot more drag brake than your just 35-turn RTR motors that come with everything. And then the factory steering servo actually is not bad. It's a full Metal Gear servo. I have verified that. I took it apart and verified that, but it's a pretty low kg. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I want to say it's between 9 and 15, I think. It might actually be 12. So, I mean, you know, that's going to be somewhat sufficient for a trail rig. So this terrain is kind of where the NT4 seems to be coming alive a little bit. But that Endura servo is definitely an upgrade over the factory cross servo. But the shift servos, I'm still running the factory servos for the shift features, which I don't use those shift features. I'm never going to probably unlock the diff except just to do it for fun. And I don't know if I've talked about before, I don't see the point of a 2-speed transmission in a rock crawler / trail rig. You know, even this one with the 2-speed, with first gear, you know, low speed with that 35-turn motor at full throttle, it goes faster than what my walking pace is, especially on a hiking trail. And that's good enough for me. I don't bash my crawlers. I don't need them to be going, you know, 15, 20 mile an hour plus. So if I'll say that the value is there for the cost. It's nice that they have those things. But if I had the ability to make a suggestion to cross, it would be either give us dig instead of probably the unlockable diff. I think more people are going to like the 2-speed than people who will like the unlockable front diff. Give us dig, or just give us a single-speed transmission with no unlockable diff or anything, no dig, no nothing. Just give us a simple single-speed transmission with the portal axles and knock $50 off the price. So why am I not really a fan of the unlockable front diff? Well, in theory, what an unlockable front diff does is you drive it unlocked until you get stuck and you're in need of the extra traction. Because essentially what it drives when you have the front diff unlocked, you have your rear locked and you have your front is like a limited slip. So if you pick the rig up off the ground, all 4 wheels will drive, but when you put it on the ground, your tire what am I? High-centered. Your tire with the most traction will not be driven. And what that gives you is better turning radius. And what that takes away is literally everything else. And in terms of turning radius, in reality, the only time you really notice that extra turning radius is on just flat, even ground. So if you just go into a parking lot or into your backyard and you drive in a circle with the front lit diff locked and drive in another circle with it unlocked, you will see a tighter turning radius with it unlocked. But when you get on the rocks, that's not really how it works. And that's why if you're going to go for something that is going to give you a tighter turning radius, you should go for dig, because not only will it give you a tighter turning radius than even the unlocked front diff will in perfect conditions, but it also gives you other benefits as well. You can use dig to basically pivot yourself 90 degrees on the rocks, and you can use it to hold yourself in place if you need to, and dig has a lot more uses. And dig is not something that's necessary. I'm just saying, if you're going to include extra features, I think there's more useful ones to have than an unlockable front diff and a 2-speed transmission. I think both of those things, to me, the unlockable front diff is useless to pretty much anybody. The 2-speed, it's useless for rock crawling. I know a lot of people say, well, I like it because I can drive it on the trails in second gear and blah, blah, blah. And I know you can. And, I'm not saying you're wrong if you're somebody who likes you like your TRX4 or something to go. Uh-oh, we have to go retrieve. Oh, able to rescue. Oh, sorry, I'm getting pretty far away from the camera. Anyway, I'm not saying you're wrong if you like your TRX4 to be able to go 15 or 20 miles an hour, and maybe you jump it sometimes and you treat it a little bit like a basher. The things are built like a basher pretty much, so I get it. But for me, a 2-speed transmission is useless. I will not use the second gear in this. In fact, if these shift servos ever die, like if for some reason I ever want to use them and they die, I might just lock out, take the servos out and lock out the second speed and that unlockable front diff. Man, we're getting hung up a lot now. Let's go look and see what's going on. Well, we're on really unstable ground right here. We just got the front pumpkin completely hung on there. This is what happens when you drive around on uneven rocks like this, being 25 yards away from them, because you can't really see what you're doing. But now we don't have the traction in those Canyon RTs to push up over there. We're getting hung up a lot due to lack of traction. I'm going to go find a better place to be. And honestly, I'm going to start finding a way off the trails, because I think it's about that time. All right, we're going to attempt to one-hand it with the controller, which I'm kind of able to do. Although with the plastic wheel instead of the foam wheel, my thumb's slipping a bit, but it's not that big of a deal. But I'm going to try to one-hand it and carry the camera and drive the truck and talk and find a way back upstairs. Canyon RTs are struggling a lot today with this mud. Definitely not a mud tire. Now on the 6x6 that they come on, that doesn't really matter. Because it's a 6x6, it makes any tire look great. And again, Canyon RTs are not bad tires. But I've never run them in mud like this. And I can confidently say they're not good at it. Although, to be fair to them, there's not going to be a lot of tires that are good with mud like this because this mud does not clear out. We are dealing with clay that gets stuck in there, and it takes a while to get out. It's got to dry, and then you've either got to dig it out manually or do a fair amount of driving. I don't know if I'm going to find a line here where I have enough traction to pull the skid up. We're getting hung on the center skid. So where we are right now is we're on the bypass line of our big hill. This is not something that things really struggle with, but today we're struggling a lot with the NT4 and the Canyon RT. It's fine. Can we go? Ugh, that was my one-hand slop. And thought we might have something, but there we go. Whew. This video is turning into a long one. The first couple videos I recorded were about this long, but I learned from it, and I've been trying to keep them to somewhere around, what are we hung on now? I think we're hung on the front bumper. Let's give it a little hand of God. I've been trying to keep them around 20 minutes because that seems to be where people's attention span starts to divide. But I'm not able to do that with this one. Recording always takes more time than just coming down here and driving, but the difficulties caused by the mud and the lack of traction and a little bit of goofing around. That rock is moss. Canyon RTs fighting for traction, not finding any. There we go, get hung up there. Do we go up here? Nah, we're not going to get up that. Can we? Ooh, we land on our wheels at least. Can we go up this way? Sliding sideways. No forward drive. Can't really control my direction. All right. And our final obstacle that you're used to seeing, the loose dirt hill climb. How does the NT4 handle this, I wonder? Yeah, that's good. Well, what are we hung? Made it to the very top. There we go. That wasn't even on camera, was it? Sorry, guys. All right, so that is a 35 turn brush motor, first gear, top speed. And there's second gear. So as you can see, in second gear with a 35 turn motor, it's not insane. I mean, that might be about what a single speed car runs with a 35 turn motor, which in my opinion is faster than it needs to be. See what I mean? It's oversprung, but the way it handles, the way you get that body roll, almost like a, how do you say it? Dakar? One of the Dakar trucks, D-A-K-A-R. I just like it. I don't know that I can bring myself to mess with the suspension. I do need to add a few grams of weight to the passenger side slider to combat a little bit of the battery is on that driver side slider. So I need to combat that weight a little bit, and it's got some natural torque twists that I can combat with just a few grams of wheel weights on the passenger side slider. Overall, I think the NT4 is a cool rig. I think it's definitely worth the cost. The durability is there. The value is there. Even in the United States, parts are pretty easy to get. Cross RC keeps, you know, their shipping is fast and reasonable, and they seem to go out of stock a lot on stuff. I'm not sure if they have supply issues or if they just don't, you know, have a big overstock. So sometimes you do have to check back, like the brass parts, for instance. Took a little bit to get a hold of. But that is one of the downsides when you start looking at one of your, let's just say, non-mainstream platforms, is you're going to run into parts availability issues sometimes. But as far as just being a good rig goes, I think the Cross RC NT4 is a really good trail truck. I would not buy this if you're planning on doing serious rock crawling, although I really do think I'm going to buy one of the kits and see what it takes to make it a serious rock crawler. But quite honestly, I mean, I think it'll take quite a bit. And in terms of cost, I don't think it'll be worth it. Like, I think to make this a really capable rock crawler, I don't remember what the kit costs, but let's say it's only $300, which I think it's more than that, but let's just say it's only $300 for the kit. You have still quite a bit you need to do to make it, to fix the issues that it faces when rock crawling. And you're also dealing with a platform that doesn't have really any aftermarket support, and the available upgrades from the manufacturer are limited. Now, you know, the axles, they do sell brass for them, and you don't really need anything else for them than that. But when it comes to, like, if you want to do overdrive, if you want to do dig, if you want to do any of that kind of stuff, you're going to be putting in a different transmission, different axles. So, you know, you're going to have limitations there. So I don't think it's worth trying to make the NT4 a rock crawler. I think you should keep it as a trail truck that is capable of doing some stuff on the rocks. But let's take a quick look underneath the hood. So the body, we've got 2 body pins back here, and then you've got 2 under the front bumper, here and there. And the body, we actually have 6 body posts. So the back of the cab has holes in it, and those go into these body posts here. Then of course you have yours through the bed, and the front of the cab has these, you know, kind of like a SCX 10.3 that goes into a hole right there and is secured with the body post. Battery on the slider, like I said, I do have a video on that from the factory. There's a big long battery tray right here in the middle. Honestly, it wouldn't be that bad. Like, I don't think, with not being a performance-based rock crawler, you don't probably need to do this mod. And I can't run the bigger batteries now, but I don't have any of the bigger battery. Like, I don't run a battery larger than this in any of my rock crawlers or trail rigs. That's a 2200 mAh. I would rather just carry a spare battery or two with me than run a big 6,000 milliamp battery. Transmission layout, it gives you the forward motor. There's the Trailmaster 35 turn, and after all that, we're barely even lukewarm. There's the Arc 2 ESC, also not warm at all. Steering servo from Endura, not warm at all. So all of this, all these components holding up well. That is a 35 kg at 6 volts. I'll tell you right now, it doesn't feel like it. It's probably not actually 35 kg if you were to measure it. But for the driving I was doing, and especially for being a chassis mounted servo, it did fine. It's all running at 6 volts. I think that'll save the light system. I think that'll save the factory servos. I might upgrade it in the future. I did, when I soldered on my battery connection, I did solder on a JST connection in case I want to go direct power in the future. But I just felt more comfortable doing 6 volts, not quite knowing what the factory shift servos need to run at, not quite knowing what the lighting system needs to run at. The lights, probably 7.4 volts wouldn't hurt them, even if they say that it's a 6 volt lighting system. And no more than the shift servos are going to be used, which is virtually never. Probably wouldn't hurt those either, but I've already done this, so that is that. What else? The brass from Cross RC, front and rear, just bolts right onto the portal housings. And then, of course, our Canyon RT tires, which are very loaded up. But you can see those wheels just go good with this body. They just complete the Unimog look. And the look is what we are after. Although I say that, then I should probably buy that bed. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't know what's in store for the future of this rig. I'm not a huge trail rig guy, or I haven't been, but I kind of find myself getting more and more into them. So I suspect you'll probably see this truck some more. I'll probably do some modifications to it. I am really toying with the idea of buying one of the builder's kits and doing a how well can it crawl type series with it. So until I do that, or until next time, everybody, have a good one.